Has the recombobulator been out for a while? Yes. Has there been an onslaught of videos on the subject? Yes. Is this video any better than the others? Well, I hope so. At least that's why I'm making it. But what is up, you guys? How is it going? It has been a while. I've been super busy, but I'm back with a video. Not only on how the PERK recombobulator works, because yes, I know everybody's already beaten me to that video, but also how I think you should recombobulate your weapons. Recombobulate? Whatever, it's a word now. Now, real quickly before I start, I make videos usually about twice a week on Fortnite or whatever other game I'm playing at the moment. And always, I love getting to know you guys, getting to hang out with you all. So if you like the video, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please consider subscribing because I have some great stuff planned and in the works and would love to see you there for that. Anyways, on to the good stuff. The recombobulation. Now, I know I said I would tell you the best perks, but in full disclosure, there isn't really a best. It will depend slightly on your playstyle, your hero, the weapon you're using, but here are a few tips that you should follow to make your gun the best that it can be. So a quick background on the recombobulation. If you have a weapon prior to this update, those are considered legacy weapons, and you are able to transform those weapons into the recombobulatory style of weapons where you can change those perks, stuff like that. And all you have to do that is you can go to upgrade, you can click modify perks, and then it will show you a window where you're able to preview what that weapon would look like were you to convert it. And so once you've converted that, once you transform your gun, there are 5 perks for each weapon that you can change, and then there's a 6 special unchangeable perk. The first perk is a damage perk, the second is a utility perk, the third is some sort of energy, the fourth is another damage perk, and then the fifth is like a special damage perk, and that sixth is the kind of special static or unchangeable perk that you have on your weapon. Now, the general starting perk layout, in my opinion, should be 1, damage, 2, magazine/reload, 3, an element, 4, damage again, 5, whatever your 6th perk says you should go with, and then bam, you can stop there, you can finish watching this video. I'm Iolaus, and I'll see you guys. Just kidding, it's not quite that easy. Unfortunately, it's not so simple. Well, I do think that is actually a great starting point. It's not quite suitable or best for every single weapon or playstyle. So let's break down each category, starting with the 6th perk, and I'll give you guys some of my thoughts and how you should decide what perk to use. So I'm starting with the 6th perk because this is kind of the perk that will make or break your gun and should determine how you organize some of the other perks that you are able to recombobulate. Now, there are 5 different potential abilities, being an explosive headshot, 30% increased damage upon 5 headshots, affliction on damage, snare on damage, and impact duration. And there's also bullet chain, which is kind of the 6th one, but it's only on the Founder's Pistol, has given that Founder's Pistol life. I'll make a video on it later, maybe, we'll see. But it is an OP perk found kind of only on this weapon, and so we're not going to really cover that right now. And so this 6th perk, you cannot choose this, you're kind of stuck with this perk, and so you just got to hope for the best. And what the best is affliction. Affliction's really is often the best perk to have. You'll see it a lot in later game, just due to its damage over time. However, I've also seen an argument that can be made for snaring. Snaring can also be a very, very fantastic perk, especially mid-game when you're using a lot of traps, and you really want to slow down those husks so that way, 1, they can get hit by the traps more often, they spend more time on these traps, taking more damage, and 2, it prevents them from getting to the walls sooner, and so you're able to have more time where you're able to just shoot them down without them breaking down your walls. So snare can also actually be a phenomenal perk, and I think is kind of underrated when everybody just immediately sees affliction. Ultimately, that's sort of for you to decide which one you want, but those are, in my opinion, the best 2. Now, the other perks are a little bit situational. The 30% on 5 headshots can still be great if you are super accurate, or even with like an accurate burst weapon where you're able to immediately get those shots. However, I'm not super accurate, so I don't bother with that. And the explosive headshot is great for weapons such as like snipers, where you're constantly hitting only heads and you're only shooting a few shots. Now moving on to the 5th perk, you want to match that perk up with your special 6th perk. So if your weapon causes affliction, you want increased damage to afflicted targets. If it snares, you want increased damage to snared. If it stuns, you want increased damage to stun, right? If it doesn't have one of those 3, then go ahead and make it like a mist monster shredder with the increased damage to mist monsters. And that's really how you want to set up that fifth perk. And it's pretty straightforward. As for the fourth perk though, I would go with increased damage. If you're pretty accurate, you can absolutely go with the headshots, right? I kind of mentioned that earlier. I'm not super accurate, so I just stick with damage. And additionally, if you're using something like an LMG or a hacksaw or a shotgun or something that don't really do headshots, don't do headshots. It's not going to work out well for you. So if you're not going to hit headshots so easily, go with the increased damage. Now, again, if you're using something like a sniper or a pistol that's kind of high damage per shot and typically a slow fire, has a slow firing rate where you're kind of able to aim for the head between each shot, then that is kind of the optimal opportunity to go for the headshot damage instead. But I would really stick between those two. With the critical perks, those are a lot more hero dependent and are a lot more situational. In general, the damage is the way to go. As for the third perk, the element perk, use an element. Unless this is a gun that's specifically for mist monsters, use an element. And also, on top of that, make it be either nature, water, or fire, right? Don't bother with energy. Energy used to be great when you didn't necessarily have an element on one of your go-to weapons, and you could just use energy because if you're lacking in something, energy kind of hits all of them. However, now because of this recombobulation or opportunity to recombobulate weapons, if we don't have a certain element on a preferred gun, we can just recombobulate it. So choose an element, and specifically choose an element that you do not have already, or an element that you find yourself most often facing. Moving on now to the second perk, I would limit this perk to two options. Magazine size is typically my go-to and my preferred perk for this slot. But for weapons such as the Super Shredder, where you can reload each shot individually, the reload speed can really make a big difference and is really the way to go for those sorts of weapons. So for this second slot, I would either choose magazine size or reload speed, and frankly, I prefer magazine size, but I've also spoken with people that say, hey, you know what, even on some of these other weapons, I like reload speed. So play around with that, see which one you like better. It's going to be magazine size, but hey, you know what, it's up to you. Check it out, and unless it's something like a Super Shredder, magazine size is the way to go. You guys, as for the first perk, pick damage. Unless you want to get super situational and get into this whole min-maxing thing with the specific hero that you're using, I don't bother with the crit chance and crit damage too much. So you guys, just pick damage, keeps things nice and easy, nice and simple, and we can move on. So that's actually it for all of those perks, and those are my opinions. Plenty of people may have different opinions. Again, as I mentioned, there's not a simple best. It does come down to some of your playstyle, but hopefully these tips helped you figure out how to make the best, or at least provide you. But I hope that this at least provided you with a nice starting point for you guys to build off of as you guys try to make your weapons the best that they can possibly be. But anyways, those are my opinions. I would love to hear your thoughts. What perks are you guys rocking and how do you like them? So feel free to leave a comment. I would love to hear from you all. But anyways, that's it for now. I'm Iolaus, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.